For those who don't, Sophie's work has always been operating at the threshold of private and public spaces, and right from the very beginning, the first intervention that were in the media, the book, the newspaper, where she was exploring this moment where one becomes the other, and vice versa. And the last exhibition, the last manifestation of her work was a huge retrospective at the Centre Pompidou, which took half a floor, half the fifth floor, fourth floor, sixth floor, one floor, anyway. And in them, are you going to speak about Dolores Keys?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. It was one of the latest book, because all our works are also published as little books in French by Actes Sud, very elegant little books. The latest book is called Douleur exquise in French, and in English would be Exquisite Pain, and then which she'll explain to you what it is. But there was an entire room devoted to that piece and which is very much about private space. So if we could say another late project was, which we saw this afternoon with in my class, with Sophie's class, is a film that has a piece that has been commissioned. Well, the film is about a failure to do a piece that has been commissioned by a bank, and 15 or 16 years of working through the failure of doing that piece, and so the piece became about the failure, about that thing. So that's typical, once again, I don't think there's any other artist that I know who decided to make a piece about failure or incapacity to do something. But that's typical of Sophie with absolutely no fear. The only artist I know was no fear. So let's go see. No fear.
So, first I want to apologize for the people that are in my class, because I'm going to repeat many things since I have no choice. But I guess I should speak like if you didn't know me, so that's what I'm going to do. I started to be an artist without really deciding it. I had gone away from France for about 7 years, and I can make a little introduction since Jean Baudrillard is here, because I was in his class in Nanterre as a student, and at the time I was a heavy political militant, and I was going to the university only because my father had told me that he would give me money if I was studying. And but I was not really interested by studies of any kind, so Jean quickly realized this. So I told him my obligation to stay as a student was the need to please my father to get money every month, since he was giving me only if I was studying. So Jean put my name on other people's works for 4 years, but pushed me to go away and travel, which I did. So I left France for 7 years, traveling all around the world, and every year he put my name on somebody else's work, and that's how I got my license and all the paper I needed to get my father help. So I never studied. It was my only kind of 6 months experiment studying, and that was over immediately. So I traveled for 7 years. And when I came back to France, I was absolutely lost. I had no more desire. I didn't want to be anymore in the militant world, so I had no more friends since I was trying to escape that world. I had no specific desire, I had no job, and I just didn't know what to do of my life. I just had come back because there was a moment after 7 years traveling around the world that I just needed to come back to my own city, language, and roots. So I came back, and since I didn't know what to do, I decided to follow people just to see what people do. And I started to follow people in the street of Paris, initially just to try to get acquainted again with my city, and try to find bars and streets and neighborhoods where I didn't have the energy to go by myself in the morning. So I start to choose one person a day and just go wherever that person went. And I understood very quickly that the fact of not having to decide anything, but just letting those people decide for me as a motor for my movement, was very, at least it was a rest. And I thought I should become more professional, so I started to take photos of those people and take notes of what they were doing. But again, it was not an artistic work, it was just a way to meet again with my city and do something, nothing more. After a while, I decided to really become more professional, so I decided to stay with somebody. I followed a man in the street of Paris, and I lost him a few minutes later. And in that same evening, I met him again in a party. So I thought it was a sign just to stay with him. I went nearby him. I understood he was going to Italy, to Venice, the next week. And I just decided to join him there. So I went to Venice, I found him and I followed him for a few weeks. Taking photos and writing notes. This became a book that I also did with Jean, called Suite Vénitienne, with Jean did a piece called Please Follow Me. So it was my first activity as an artist, but without really knowing what I was doing. And shortly after, I will show photo after, the photos are very secondary, they don't show much, but shortly after, and it has a common aspect of not knowing what I was doing, I started to make a little lab in my house to print those photos, and with a girlfriend, and one night she came back, she had been working all night, she came in my room in the morning, she mentioned the fact that she was tired and she would like to sleep in my bed. She made a comment about the fact the bed was warm. It gave me the idea to have my bed occupied by 8-hour shift during 1 week. And again, it was a way, I was bored, I was lost, so it was just a way to find something to do, but not much more. So I invited people I didn't know to come and sleep by 8-hour shift. I needed daytime sleepers, so I found bakers in the street of Paris, I hired a babysitter. I asked people in the street to come and sleep in my bed. I took a photograph every hour, and I made a kind of questionnaire because I was afraid of those unknown people in my bed, and I was afraid of the silence. At the same time, I didn't want to use the fact they were in my bed to become friends, because when I want a friend, I am more direct than this. So it was to try to have a communication with those people. And this communication staying distant, I made a kind of questionnaire about those people's habits in beds. And people would meet each other, each person would come, take the place of the other, of the one before them in the bed, and they would, change or not the sheets and stay 8 hours. There was a tape recorder in the room, taping every encounter and every meeting. And this lasted for a week. And one of the girls I invited to sleep in my bed, I had met in the market next door, doing the market, was a wife of an art critic. So she came back home, she told her husband about that girl, in which bed she had been sleeping. And he was the man deciding, his name was Bernard Lamarche-Vallée, he was deciding for the Biennale of the Young Artists in the Modern Art Museum in Paris. And he asked me to show those photos. And that's how I became an artist, by his decision, in a way. So I don't know if there are photos. I mean, they don't show much. The first image about the Suite Vénitienne